Hey, gang, coming up on our Finding Better podcast, Robert White is joining me, and we're going to talk about living an extraordinary life. And what we mean by that is a life of success, a life of joy, and a life that you're happy with. Notice that I didn't say anything about money and wealth. It's about the things that are important in life and perfect for launching into 2026 with. And we're going to set a foundation that's going to blow your mind. You may not believe what we have to say, but it's going to be a foundation upon which you can build. And it's all about you. It's all about you. So thank you for joining us. Please share this. Here we go. Hello, and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. My name is John Suzuki, and I am your host. And as you know, folks, this is where we share real life lived experiences of people who have found better in their own lives and are sharing that experience with you. Because, sometimes I found that the best path to success is to follow in the footsteps of others who have been there and done that. And the title of our podcast is Finding Better. And it's all about finding better, right? Finding better love, finding better relationships, finding better money, finding better life, finding better joy and success, which is what we're going to talk about today. And so we are gathered here today to share wisdom on how to build an extraordinary life. And what we mean by an extraordinary life is a life of success, a life of joy, and a life of satisfaction. Now, Robert White is my guest today. Robert, thank you for joining me. I can't wait to have this conversation.
John, it's a delight to be with you and your listeners.
Awesome. So let me just give you a little bit about Robert. Robert is a transformational architect. How is that? How cool is that? Right? He designs transformation in people. He was raised in poverty with the kinds of physical and emotional abuse that very few of us have to endure. And he dropped out of college after one semester as a result of suffering his first of three heart attacks. How's that for a setback? And then he went on to found and lead two high impact experiential learning companies with over 1 million graduates. We're going to talk about that. Okay, so with that, he retired at 46. He had a 14,500 square foot home in Aspen. Robert, I'm going to ask you later on what the hell you do with 14,500 square feet, but that's okay. And, with his wife, the love of his life. And then he lost it all. He lost his business and he lost his wife. And through that process, he learned some incredible, though mostly unpleasant experiences, like incredible lessons. And he once again engaged in a fresh start. And he's here to share with us how he not only made his way out of poverty and heart disease, but also how he lost it all and transformed himself into something even better. He is the bestseller of Living an Extraordinary Life and is here to share his wisdom on building how we can all build an extraordinary life, again, of life, joy, and satisfaction. That's a pretty heavy introduction, Robert.
Well, I'm reminded it's an old saying, it's not mine, but I'll steal it. And that is that after hearing that introduction, I can't wait to hear what I have to say.
Yeah, exactly. And a whole bunch of people are sharing that sentiment right now. So, hey, okay, let's get started. What is a transformational architect, and what does it mean to my audience?
Well, architects design structures that are hopefully both attractive and substantial and solid.
Hmm.
Uh, so that's where that came from. I mean, I do executive coaching, I do team training. That's my thing right now, and I love doing that. But those titles I've noticed get kind of so commonplace that it kind of
Right.
doesn't make people up. So that's where that architect piece and the word transformational is when I started using it, people would say, well, what does that mean? Today,
Right.
it's overused, maybe, and misunderstood. So that's another thing we could talk about, but that's a little bit headspace, not
Yeah. So
experiential.
so how do you define transformational?
Well, I'll use simple terms instead of my 3-day seminar. uh, it's gaining a new perspective, not what you're seeing, but where you are looking from.
Okay.
So,
Oh, interesting. Not what you're seeing, but where you're looking from.
yes.
Okay. Okay. So uh let's talk about growing up because you sound like a man who didn't grow up with with the silver spoon in his mouth. And one of the things that I often tell folks is that you know some people do, some people don't. But we all are where we are, and it's our choice to make our lives what we want them to be. So, tell us a little bit about your humble beginnings.
Well, the abuse and poverty piece is real, and but I've met people that had much greater abuse than
Sure.
me. I had one of my adopted, both of my adopted children had much rougher beginnings than I did, and so that kind of keeps me a little bit humble.
Sure.
And but what in doing our trainings over the years, I've witnessed a lot. I mean, the stories would delight and inspire you, and they would cause you to be beyond sad and breaking down in tears in the training room. Uh, and from those stories, what I've learned is that people with rough beginnings go in one of two directions
Hmm.
generally. They might go in 50 directions, but it seems like there's two broad categories. One is to retreat from life. These are the people that get often are addicted to drugs or alcohol or something, or that they spend their time alone in their room. Um, they just retreat from life.
Hmm.
And so that's one group of people. Unfortunately, it's a fairly large number,
Right.
unless they get some help. The other people get, I don't know, angry or inspired, touched by God, touched by the moon or the stars or whatever you want to choose as your motivator and your informer. I got angry, and I now do a lot of work with executives on their purpose and the purpose of their organizations. And so, of course, I've looked at my own, and I've realized that my early purpose, John, was uh, I'll never be poor again. I went to work or to school. The laboratory for bullying is school, and I was
Hmm.
bullied because in my early years, because my clothing was handmade from feed sacks. Back in the days when you bought your flour or sugar or whatever in a cloth sack, and the companies that sold them found out that by printing some nicer prints on them, actually quite feminine the prints were, as I remember. Uh, and then so I went to school with shirts and pants made of feed sacks because we couldn't afford to go to a store and buy things.
Yeah, and
And
back in those days, a lot of women made clothes,
yeah,
right? Yeah, they were seamstresses.
so that's kind of how it all started. But I was kind of an entrepreneur from an early age. I mean, I did every one of those markers that they have for entrepreneurs. I had a paper route. I sold greeting cards door to door. I sold magazine subscriptions door to door. I cut grass in the summer. I shoveled snow in the winter. That's part of growing up in Green Bay, Wisconsin, I think. And I washed out milk cans. Wisconsin's the dairy state. And at that time, they didn't have the big refrigerated tank trucks. They had the individual cans of milk, and they had to be cleaned daily, after every use. And I found out the drivers of those trucks didn't like doing that, and they would tip me if I did it. So
Oh, yeah. There's an
stuff like
entrepreneur
that.
for you.
Yeah. And a big turning point for me, John, in regard to that growing up piece, it wasn't complete, but it was a beginning. And that was that when I was 12 years old, I won a writing contest for all of Green Bay. And, in case you're impressed by that. At that time, Green Bay was only 50,000 people. So,
Well, that's a lot of people to win first prize in anything on. Yeah, that's
yeah.
cool.
Well, prize number one was a bicycle, a Schwinn with all the bells and whistles. I loved that bicycle. But the other prize that I didn't even know about before I won was an appearance on radio, to go with a teacher to a radio station and read part of my essay on the air. And to say it simply, John, I walked into this radio station and fell in love. Now, at that time, for young people, radio was everything. So nights and weekends were music for aimed at the teenage market.
Right.
And so I'm certainly was a radio listener. And so I just fell in love. And the idea that a guy sitting in a little glass booth could reach thousands of people with his voice, and then all of that electronics and just everything about it, I loved. And so when I was leaving, I asked them, could I come back and just observe what you're doing? And they said no, that their insurance didn't allow that. It's
Oh,
okay.
wow.
I
Yeah.
guess for obvious reasons, you don't want some 12-year-old hanging out in your
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
And as I'm leaving, a kind lady, a receptionist, did the psst, psst, come here thing, you know. And I went over and she said, look, I can tell you're excited about this. And our competitor down the street has a glass atrium. You can see into all of their studios and their business offices from an open atrium. And they have their whatever's being broadcast on speakers in that atrium.
Hey, Robert. Robert, I'm getting a little feedback. Are you playing with a mouse or something?
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. I can hear it. So if you can, if yeah,
I'll stop
just
doing
want to
that.
let you
Thank
know.
you. So every Saturday morning for 2 years, I went to that radio station and watched and listened. And at 14, I'm in high school and I get summoned to the principal's office. Never a good thing, right? Uh, and he said, somebody from this radio station telephoned me and they want to talk to you.
Okay.
Somehow they had networked around, and there were only two high schools in Green Bay at the time, so that part was easy. And and what they had done today, they would have been sued forever. They would lose their fortunes, because what they did was they responded to the desire of the control engineers to have a union. So they fired
Okay.
all of them, fired every single one of them. That was their response to those guys wanting a union. And they thought, well, this kid's been watching for 2 years. Maybe he knows how to run the board, the control.
Wow. Okay. So let's move on. And
So that
yeah.
ended up with me being on the air, having the highest rated radio show in Wisconsin at 17 years old, making more money than my father had ever made, and
Wow.
being chosen most likely to succeed by my class just because they're listening to me every evening. And and the next step in my life in terms of that was I did have the 3 heart attacks and had to drop out of college. And at 27, I had done everything I could to make my classmates wrong. I was not only most likely to succeed, I was broke. I had gotten married and divorced, felt horribly guilty about it. And I had chest pain every day and was told I would die by 35.
Okay, so wait a
So,
minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. So this is a window between roughly when you're 18 years old to 28, right? Roughly.
yes,
And you had 3 heart attacks during that 10-year period?
at 19, 21, and 23.
So what, my dad had 2 heart attacks, and his doctor told him that if he had a third one, he was not going to survive it.
Right.
So um and that was back in the day. So what did you do? You had 3 heart attacks. Did you do anything different after the third one?
Well, I had the daily chest pain, and I used to lie about it because I didn't want people to know
Oh
that I was
no.
handicapped. And there was nothing, it was inoperable and there were no drugs for it. So I had, it's called a right bundle branch block. It's a nerve damage on the surface of the heart, but uh, which they now can kind of fix, by the way. But
Okay.
so I went to one of the early human potential movement trainings at 27, and my life changed. Uh, Even though there was nothing mentioned about money or business in that training, I got to know me better and differently and took a look at how I was defeating myself as a human being in business. And, that's the getting better part for me. That's one of the reasons I was attracted to your, uh, your podcast. And I think that's the only time that in responding, that I've actually mentioned some of those things that happened to me, and because I knew what you were looking for, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, without no mention, I went from being broke to tripling my income in the first year, to having it go up 10 times the second year. My relationships got better. Everything got better.
Okay. So wait a minute. Okay, so you started off being bullied. You were an entrepreneur at heart. You found yourself in a radio station, having the number one radio station in Wisconsin, which is a state, right? Um, and you made a lot of money. Then you had three heart attacks, and then you went to a seminar,
Yes.
right? What did you call it?
Well, it's called Mind Dynamics. It was one of those fruits and nuts offerings from California,
Okay.
and but they brought the my friends had gone out to California, done the seminar, and spent 6 months trying to get me to do it, which
Okay.
I resisted, unfortunately. But they brought the training to. By that time, I was living in Milwaukee, and still working in radio, and I had a small sales business, and failing at that, and I went to the seminar, and
And in that seminar, you learned about how you were just getting in your own way.
exactly.
Okay. And I suppose that's what we're going to learn about right
Well,
now.
what that led to was I sold that business. I moved to New York City and became a contract trainer, sales trainer, and team trainer. And I started inviting the local mind dynamics instructor to come into our weekend seminars and do an hour and a half. And from that, she and I enrolled over 400 people into the mind dynamics training over time. And so they knew about me, mind dynamics. I knew nothing about them. I didn't understand the training. I just knew that the experience caused my life to shift in a positive way, in every possible way. And so I got a phone call one day from the founder and chairman of Mind Dynamics, who I didn't even know the name. And he offered to fly me out to California and sit down and have a conversation. So I took my first class trip, which is very nice, and went out to San Rafael in Northern California.
Hmm.
And 10 days later, I was president of Mind Dynamics. So I ran the business of Mind Dynamics for 4 years. Alexander handled um, the training of trainers, the content side of things, and that got me into the training business.
So wait a minute. So what was it? What was it that transformed you? What was it about what you learned that made you so passionate about this business and about what about your life?
Well, my results are what made me so passionate about that training. I think the way to talk about what I learned is uh, it also shows up in the book that I wrote, Living an Extraordinary Life. The biggest complaint I had about my book, when a lot of kind of famous people liked it, but people would say, "I love your book. I'm buying 20 copies for my family, whatever." But I was disappointed in one thing, and I said, "What's that?" They said, "It's not about you," and it's not. It is about our graduates and how they interact with the material in our programs. And but one chapter was about me, And
Okay.
not I didn't say it in the book, but it was. And that book, that subchapter
Robert,
was
you're fidgeting again.
that was
Whatever you're
titled.
fidgeting with, just move it away.
Got it. It's the microphone, so I'll stay away from it. That chapter is in our a bigger section is about the power of your beliefs, whatever they are,
Hmm.
and that the most dysfunctional belief is I am not enough.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
So what I got the beginning of from that mind dynamics experience is that I was operating from I am not enough, even
Yep.
though in many ways I'd accomplished a lot, given my background, but I didn't get it. And a lot of other people are telling me you're great, and I didn't get it. And I started realizing that I had a unique purpose in life. I had a vision, I had some good values, and that I was ignoring all of that. So, and was still believing that I am not enough. I don't have enough education. I don't have good health. I don't have the ability to be in a relationship, a committed relationship, those kinds of things. And when I let go of that, or began the process of letting go of that, things got better instantly. It took some time, it took some noticing, but that was the key the takeaway from that training.
I am blown away. And the reason why I'm blown away is, first of all, when you said that, um, I think, we live in a culture where we're just not good enough, right? We're always trying for the next best thing. We're always trying for the next ring on that, whatever. We're trained that way. We're trained to always want more. And, and so that is such a huge thing. But the reason why I'm ultra blown away is because just last weekend I attended a fundraiser, and the fundraiser was for a group of people that I don't think because of my background, but you can see the words, right? You can see
Yes,
the words.
you are
You
enough.
are enough. And one of the things that they do is they do fundraising, and every single dollar that they raise goes to mental health, goes to mental health. And one of the things that they offer is this little bracelet that says enough. And when I was talking with the president of this nonprofit, um, the story was from their founder, who had founded a company called Tom's, and it was a company that sold shoes, and every shoe that was purchased, a pair of shoes would go to charity.
Yep,
Are you aware of that story?
I am.
Yeah. The founder of that company sold the company. Upon the process of selling his company, he lost his identity and contemplated suicide. And he went around the world looking for people. What's wrong with me? Why am I doing this? What's going on? And he came to the conclusion that the reason why he felt that way was because he didn't feel like he was enough. With all the things that he did and all the contributions, it was the next thing. I'm reminded of Buzz Aldrin, right? I think he was on the Apollo mission when Neil Armstrong landed on the moon. And someone asked him, he said, "Wow, you landed on the moon. What do you want to do with your life?" He goes, "Well, I don't have anything left. I landed on the moon. What is left?" Right? So,
Well, you're from Seattle originally, and uh, I found Ichiro's story shocking and inspiring and crazy. But when he was, I mean, one of the best baseball players ever. He'll be.
hmm
I'm not sure if he's in the Hall of Fame yet, but he will be
yeah,
if he is.
yeah. I don't know if
And
he is or not either, but Ichiro Suzuki, right?
you know, uh, and but he was still playing when he shouldn't have been still playing. He had made plenty of money, but he couldn't quit because his entire identity was to be a
Right.
baseball player. He couldn't see anything else. And as I heard him share about that, I just felt so sad for him to really. And I kind of, it's a small difference, but I don't have a problem with people wanting more. But where it's coming from is the issue.
Okay.
If it's coming from, I'm whole, I'm complete, I'm ready to really contribute in the world,
Right.
go out and make a ton of money. Go out and get all of the fame you want. Get whatever it is you want. I want to help you do that. However, if what's underneath is I'm not enough, um, that's a problem. Because what's missing, and living in that beautiful home, skiing 80 days a year on 6 nonprofit boards, traveling the world with the late John Denver, I have all these things that I should have been really
That's
happy.
enough.
Yeah, it's enough.
Yeah.
And what I realized out of all of that, and from losing it in some ways, is that what was missing was joy and satisfaction, because my purpose was a negative purpose. I'll never be poor again. And
Right.
now I'm a rich guy in Aspen. So what I needed to do was to start focusing on having some fun, and to realize that I had earned it, and that was a missing piece for me.
But I mean, to that point, you don't have to live in a big house in Aspen in order for you to deserve pursuing joy and satisfaction, right? I mean that we're all on our own journeys, and a lot of us reach different levels of success. Um, and the thing about it is that if you can internalize and if you can accept the fact that you are enough right now, right?
Well, I'm enough, John.
Yeah,
I am enough.
yeah, and everybody listening is enough. And you may not be at the same economic levels, or you may not be at the same education levels, or you may not, but whatever, right? The fact of the matter is, yeah, I was I was sitting at LAX one day, and I'm sitting in the terminal, and I had about an hour and a half to kill, and I just decided to sit on a planter and watch people go by. And as I'm watching people go by, I'm seeing old people go by, I'm seeing young kids go by, I'm seeing babies go by, I'm seeing all kinds of people going by. And I realized that every single person that I was looking at going by me could teach me something. Every one of them. And, you know, and you talked about a humbling experience a little bit earlier, right? I sat back and I'm like, that person can teach me something. And I look and that person can teach me. I don't know what it is, but everybody's got something. And and so by that measure, I mean, we're enough. I was talking to somebody, so yeah, we're never enough. We're never enough. But it goes back, Robert, to what you were talking about, you know, in terms of where you're coming from and what your perspective is. I mean, if you're at a place where we're never enough. Well, let me ask you this, Robert. For people who say we're never enough, that's bullshit, Suzuki, right? You're just enabling losers to be losers. What do you say to that?
Well, the salesman in me wants to go tell people to go. Our personal growth seminars are not available from me, at least, but I know a number of other people that are doing brilliant work, and I would say go do that training, or read that book, or watch that video, or get a coach,
Okay, we don't
somebody
want to
that's
do that right now. We just want to hear from
yeah,
you.
yeah. For me, uh, the best way is in a group setting, and that's what happened for me. But the big thing is just sometimes people ask me, "What's your tip?" And I kind of don't like the question, because it's not that simple. But if you're asked for that, then you got to have an answer. My answer is always the same, and that is to heighten your awareness, to develop a higher state of noticing. You did it sitting at LAX. But there are a lot of ways to do that. My closest friend swims every day. He takes that quiet time and a mild exercise of swimming to center himself. And but everybody's different. You
Right.
know, for me, it's walking in these mountains. I mean, the peace that I feel and in that quiet, things occur to me, and you know, I think about me, and you know, am I in the trap of the culture that the culture puts out to me, or am I really utilizing God's many gifts to me and living from there? uh, am I consistent with my purpose, my vision, my values? You know, and I'm not talking about doing that in a beating myself up kind of way. I'm talking about just letting the ideas flow, letting me be centered. And for me, that walk in the mountains does it. Other people use music. A lot of people do use music, um, but do so with some intention. You know, my intention is to stay centered, to stay grounded, to be who I really am, to be the gift that I am.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful because you know what? What Robert is saying, folks, is just not a gift. The gift. We're all gifts. We all have gifts,
Yes.
right? And I would love for everybody just to think about it. When you're in a place of solitude, like you were just talking about, Robert, of being able to walk through the mountains and be with yourself and things happen and you come up with ideas and you come up with different talk patterns, um, you know, whatever you want to call it. I would love for you to for you all to think about what Robert and I have been saying. And when you're in that quiet space, think about those words. I am enough. I am enough. And challenge us, right? And sit
Yes.
back and go and we don't have a way, unfortunately, and maybe there's a way that I can discover a way. But I would love for you to convince your best friend why you're not enough.
They will disagree or they wouldn't be your best friend.
Right?
You know,
Yeah.
they're going to give you some feedback that might be hard to hear because you've been busy putting yourself down. They're your
Yeah.
friend because they celebrate you.
Yeah.
They
And I
love
just
you.
I feel like our culture is that we all live in such a rat race and we're just constantly bombarded with these what I call messages of inadequacy, Robert, right? Of you got to buy this or you won't be happy, or you got to be like me or you're a loser, or I mean, and social media has been the probably the
Mm.
worst double-edged sword in human history.
It's
And
it's dead. It's deadly.
yeah, and if you can internalize those words, I am enough. I am enough, right?
You know, I have something that might help some people if they're tuned to music. Um,
Yes.
Look, I got to know John Denver because we did a training for him and the staff and the board of directors of the WinStar Foundation, his charitable
Yeah.
arm. And it's a 5 day program, and people get honest and get real with each other. And so one of the exercises we do near the end is we take all the chairs out of the room. We have people stand in front of each other in pairs. There were 32 people in the room, and to complete a sentence. And the sentence is, the gift I see in you is, and then
Ooh.
whatever comes up for you. And then the other person can only say thank you, cannot justify, cannot distract, avoid all the things that I was very good at when complimented. And then that you change roles. The other person says, well, the gift I see in you is, and the other person says, thank you. And then you go find a different partner. So you get feedback from 31 people. And the and we play some music in the background and we stop the exercise, push people on it a little bit. Are you being real? Are you trusting yourself? Stuff like that. And we get to the end. And at that point, I had just come back from 13 years in Japan. And I'm kind of getting started in America again. And I suddenly noticed that this guy, John Denver, one of the most famous entertainers in the world, is on the floor sobbing. And I'm thinking, my career is over. You know,
Yeah, yeah. I'm out of here.
this this is not the way I wanted this to turn out.
Yeah.
And and John, I didn't know what to do, so I laid down on the floor next to him and said, "What's going on?" And what I learned was that 31 people gave him feedback. Not one of them said, "The gift I see in you is your music." Not one. And so
Wow.
I, of course, said, "What did they see in you, John?" And he said, "They saw my deep friendships. They saw my commitment to my family. They saw my commitment to art, to being a poet, to being a Johnny Appleseed kind of character." And then he paused and he said words that changed my life in that instant. He said, "I didn't know that I was a good man. I didn't know I was a good man." And he also said, "I'm going to write a song about it." And I'd encourage people to go on YouTube. Now, he turned "The Gift I See in You Is" into "The Gift You Are." And as a tip for if you need to hear this, if you're listening and you've been thinking you're not enough, go listen to that song. Get a quiet space, put on some headphones, and listen to those words. You also get a chance to hear my daughter sing backup. And it, John closed his program. His encore songs included "The Gift You Are" for the last 3 years of his life, and he had people in the audience singing it to each other. The way we would do it in the training. So uh, that's the tip: is if you'd like to start the journey toward realizing the gift you are, realizing you are enough, that might be one way to do it.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. And again, folks, the name of the song on YouTube is "The Gift You Are" by John Denver. I don't think I've heard that song before. So right after we're done, I'm gonna go listen to it. Of course, I have to ask the question because I asked this question of everybody. Was he a good guy?
He's a good man.
Good man?
Like me, like you, he had his faults.
Sure.
Uh, until about 5 years from his death, before his death, he's very angry. He
Mm,
grew up in a situation that produced a lot of suppressed anger. And when you listen to his music is an appeal for love and compassion and
yeah.
kindness.
Yeah.
But away from that, um, he had a lot of anger and
Mm,
and depression. And again, you go to his music; it's music of hope and,
yeah. Yeah.
and love. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is amazing. This is amazing. Folks, you are a gift, whether you like it or not. Um, you are enough, whether you like it or not. And go listen to that song and meditate on it. Some people get freaked out about the word meditation. I still don't do it right, but I try to find myself in a quiet space. And whether it be in my own home or whether it be outside while I'm walking or if I see something really cool, I'll just try to bring it in. And and think about that. You are enough. Think about those words. You are enough. And if you use that as a baseline, magic can happen, right? Right, Robert?
it's foundational.
That's a perfect word. I love it. It is foundational. You build from there.
Yes.
And not because you're not enough. Because you are enough. And then you build on that, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Robert, this has been wonderful. This has been wonderful. And folks are gonna walk away from this conversation, thinking about this, and hopefully they'll get to a point to where they'll be able to internalize and build that foundation. That right now, at this very moment, you are enough. You're enough.
Yep.
And so, all right. So if folks want to learn more about you or get your book, where do they go? What do they do?
Well, certainly for the book, it's on Amazon and all those platforms. If you want a signed copy, go to my website, which is extraordinarypeople.com.
Nice.
Extraordinarypeople.com. And look under resources, and you'll find books. And but also on the homepage of that website, they can sign up for my e-zine, my weekly email called An Extraordinary Minute. It's whatever I'm up to and learning about and my comments about whatever that is, but all designed to be read in 1 minute or less. So it's a little like a quick meal once a week. Uh,
Wonderful.
but what's included in that, maybe more importantly, is a 28-page PDF of what I've learned about success, and particularly what we call the 8 principles, the underlying principles for success. Uh, and people have used it for lunch bag seminars. They've shared it with family and friends. It's shareable, so it's not restricted, and it's a way to be in relationship with me. And if you hit reply to any of my weekly emails, and it's easy to unsubscribe if they become clutter, but if you hit reply, I read every one of them. I respond to most.
Wonderful. Wonderful. That's extraordinarypeople.com,
That's it.
right? And wow. Okay, Robert, thank you. Thank you for this. I know that this is even if it helps just one person out there. That's what we're here for. You lift one person, you lift the world, right? And I have a feeling there's a lot of people that are going to be lifted by this conversation. So thank you for joining me. I love you. God bless you. I appreciate all that you're doing to help folks and make them better. You have anything? I'll let you close this out.
Just you're welcome, first of all. And secondly, that purpose statement of I'll never be poor again has migrated over time to I am a contribution. And so if I've contributed today, I'm immensely satisfied and happy.
Good. You fulfilled your purpose for the day. And I'm a guy. I think I think we all share a common purpose, and my purpose is to make the world better than the day I landed on it. And I'm trying to do that every day, every day.
Better, better and better was the French philosopher's greeting. So
Better and better. I love it. I love it. Okay, everybody, listen. You are enough. You are enough, and you are loved, and you have gifts. And what a great way! What a great way for an early episode in 2026. Live it, okay? And just think about it. If you have to think about it for the next 360 days, keep thinking about it. And at some point in time, uh, I'll bet you're going to accept it. Okay. So, with that, thank you for joining us. I love you. God bless you. And we'll see you next time. And please share this. See ya.